Hey guys, I am Big and Scary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay from Team EchO Gaming, this time featuring in our top right hand side EchO's Clockwork, our red Grandmasters Zerg, and in our bottom right we have our blue Zerg Blade. Should also be in Grandmasters since Clockwork here is on the ladder, but you know, every now and then you run into somebody who's on the cusp of popping up into Masters, so good on you, Blade, and also just congratulations on scoring that name, Blade. Have you ever tried to get the name you want on Battle.net? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I have gone through so many different attempts to get stuff, which is how I kind of wound up with Big and Scary. And yeah, kudos to you for grabbing Blade. Clockwork is also kind of cool, but it's definitely not as common as generic as Blade is, because, you know, if you're a 12-year-old kid, you can go Blade, right? But still, it's so totally awesome. And all, you know what else is awesome is Zerg versus Zerg. Too cool. Both players are bypassing that 6 pool and that 10 pool cheese. This map is absolutely enormous, so even if they were traveling along, it would be short-lived because the possibility of it arriving at your enemy's base is very difficult, and also the possibility of it being scouted just makes it just not worth it. It's absolutely not worth it. 15 pool is far more likely, far more cautious. Even a map this size, you can get away with 15 hatch, but probably not at the Grandmaster's level, so Clockwork is going to be throwing down that first spawning pool at the 15 supply mark. And Blade, what are you doing? Is he going for a hatchery? He is. Look at all that money. Oh my goodness, 15 hatch coming out of Blade before pool. Super ballsy, and I like it. I like it a great deal. We're probably going to see a pool immediately thrown down right behind this, and the timing is going to be super great. And I don't think Clockwork's going to be in a good position to exploit the weakness that Blade has thrown up right now. So right now, Blade has just a teensy bit of an economic lead, just a little bit. Really, it's splitting hairs. Hatch first, pool first, because I mean, if you work it out, you gain a little bit of time by getting your queens out earlier because of the pool. You lose a little time because you don't have the extra larva from the hatchery. So it's definitely 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. Not to downplay it, because Zerg versus Zerg, more than any other matchup, is a game of inches. So you know, I would say that Blade right now, little bit ahead, but it is such a small bit that it doesn't really matter that much. Doesn't matter that much. 17 over 15 is your harvester count, just showing you that Blade has just a one or two extra harvesters, and that's going to be translating into extra gas income for him, as well as some extra minerals. That spawning pool is going to be finishing up, probably immediately going to get started on that first queen, and then the second's going to be started down on the hatchery, and that timing is just absolutely perfect. I love that timing when it matches up like that, so you can have 2 queens popping out of 2 different hatcheries at the same time. So sexy. I love it. First hatchery, first extractor has been grabbed by that main hatchery. It's going to be working on getting that 100 gas for the spawning pool, so we can start on that speed. Both players realizing that zerglings are going to be playing an absolutely monumental role in this matchup, because, you know, map control is everything whenever it's Zerg versus Zerg. You really need to be able to respond very quickly to the small pokes and prod that either player is going to be doing this. In all honesty, we know what pathway this is going to take. Zerg versus Zerg, it's Mutalisks. It's always going to be Mutalisks, because they are so freaking fantastic. And so I expect we're going to see an early layer. We're going to see that Spire coming out of both players very quickly, as well as both players grabbing some gas and probably going to go for a greedy third. Defensive Baneling Nest from both players. They don't have the extra gas income needed to finance that sort of aggression, and neither of them have been put in the area where a desperation play, something like a full-on Baneling Bless all-in, is necessary. I think this is just a defensive Baneling Bless, maybe get 1 or 2 Banelings to protect your ramp, to protect against a desperation run-by, and that's it. Buy time, wait for that Spire. This is totally the current Zerg versus Zerg metagame, which is just absolutely fantastic. I love how tense this time is for both players. Just kind of feeling out the opponent. Is he going to go for Spire? Because if he's going for Spire, I can't get behind on my upgrades. I can't get behind on my Mutalisk count. Is he not going to go for Spire? Then what is he doing? What's wrong with him? You know, is he going to go for some sort of all-in? Do I have to deal with Niduses? It's so tense. I like it a lot, because used to be Zerg versus Zerg was so frantic, and you had to deal with just constant back and forth with these Zerglings and Banelings, and that's fallen so far away, because the one player that gets up the Spire, no matter how far behind they are in the drone count, once those Mutalisks hit the field, it just radically changes the matchup. So 3 extractors have been tapped for Clockwork. We have the 4th being grabbed for Blade. And, that's, again, not the major difference. What the major difference would be is in the lair timing. And we can see that they're pretty much matched up. Clockwork's going to be ahead by a handful of seconds. Harvester count's pretty much neck and neck, as is the gas income. And we can even see that 4th gas has been grabbed. Where was that? 4th gas being grabbed for Clockwork in his main. Lair's going to be finishing, and both players have pretty much the exact same amount of gas. Money's going to be the limiting factor for Blade. Just for the time being, we're going to see that Spire thrown down in just a couple of seconds. And also, check out the units tab. We can see that 20 zerglings, this is probably going to pop up in the next couple of seconds. Both players are going to have about 20 zerglings, and it's because they're being very cost effective with their amount of zerglings. Clockwork moving out with his, but I don't expect him to engage in like a direct confrontation. I don't think he's going to be trying for a run by. I don't think he's going to be trying for a snipe on a queen. I think he's just poking around the front door, see what he's dealing with, check that Spire timing, suiciding in his zerglings, seeing that Spire is indeed just now being constructed, going for a little bit of a run by, going for another run by because he, since his weakness, didn't have any zerglings there at the front door, no banelings to stop him, trying for the run by, trying to get a surround on that Spire. Unfortunately, works his way into a corner there, just gets nailed by the mineral field, and that's why I thought he wasn't going to do it, is because now he doesn't have any zerglings, and this is what is going to result. Blade is going to be moving out with his zerglings, and is going to have no problem at all in denying this hatchery. A handful of zerglings are out from Clockwork, but even though these zerglings are weak from Blade, he's going to get a pseudo surround on that hatchery. Oh, but Clockwork's moving in with, oh no, those are drones, those aren't banelings. Oh, but Clockwork spotted enough time to get out another row of zerglings, and he's going to force Blade all the way back, successfully navigating the treacherous waters of that zergling push. Handful of banelings coming in, but oh no, Clockwork botching the micro. Massive hit from the banelings, and no, Clockwork doesn't have any zerglings up to defend that third. It is in a lot of trouble, down to 2/3 health. Oh, but no, Clockwork spotted enough time. He's got 11 mutalisks on the production tab, but will it arrive in time to save that third? A hearty no indeed, as the surround goes down on that hatchery. Clockwork's zerglings are ineffectively fighting in the choke, and the hatchery does indeed go down, but mutalisks are now out on the field. We have 9 mutalisks over 10, 11, 12. It's radically changing, but both players' mutalisks are out on the field, and like I said, it just radically changes the matchup. Blade is feeling fantastic, though. Yeah, he's supply blocked. Yeah, that Overlord is down. Yes, his double extractors are up at the third. His extra gas income is going to be being such an enormous boon for him, and it's just going to be an explosion of mutalisks coming out of Blade, and so Clockwork's going to have to make something happen. Both players are getting the armor. I don't know if you're cued in on this, but if you fall behind in upgrades for mutalisks versus mutalisks, you're done. And armor is definitely the one you want to get when it's muta versus muta. Just in a hands-down fight, I saw a +3 weapons versus +3 armor for the mutalisks, and the armor just decimated the +3 weapons. It was pretty impressive, actually. So this third is definitely the cincher for Blade, and it's what Clockwork needs to take down, pushing with a handful of zerglings. Blade's zerglings are repositioning themselves on their creep, and is going to be able to force back Clockwork. Clockwork actually being rather defensive with his banelings, or with his mutalisks, which is surprising because, oh no, he's actually behind on the mutalisk count. I could have sworn he was ahead. Maybe he was ahead for a short period of time, but Blade's extra gas income has really just proven how quickly he can rise in that mutalisk count. +1 armor is going to be finishing for Blade just a handful of seconds before Clockwork's, and Clockwork is being very cautious, needs to keep that mutalisk count up, doesn't really want to engage directly for the time being. That hatchery is going to finish for Clockwork down at the third, and immediately Blade starting on that +1, once again being supply blocked, with another Overlord probably being sniped by the mutalisk, and I was looking at him, I don't know how it happened. Maybe he just did a double extractor trick to get out 1 extra mutalisk while he's building 4 extra Overlords. +1 armor is going to be finishing for Clockwork now that they're even on the armor and upgrade count. Clockwork being a little bit more ballsy with his mutalisk. Small little poke of zerglings down on the left side to the third, but it looks like this is where the action is going to be. Blade pushing in with a numerically superior force. Oh, 20/17, but I think 4 of those mutalisks are back at home for Clockwork, so Clockwork having to retreat. Several of his mutalisks in the red and orange, and so many fresh mutalisks from Blade is going to be forcing him all the way back to the third. But what is this? 2 static defenses spore crawlers being built. If the engagement happens over that static defenses, that can be a major assist for Clockwork, just buying a little bit of time to get his Mutalisks back up into pristine health. Blade pushing up again with his Mutalisk, but the engagement is happening right on top of the Spore Crawlers. We can see the extra Mutalisks being built, pouring their extra DPS into this engagement, and we can see that that Mutalisk count is just devastated right now. 12 over 18, 12 of those Mutalisks limping back to Blade's home base. But what are the upgrades like? We have +1 armor. Still on the production tab is the +1 weapons, but look at that gap in the upgrade timing. The +1 weapons is going to be done long before +1 armor, or +1 weapons for Clockwork. So Clockwork, it has a small lead right now because of that enormous Mutalisk lead, but in terms of upgrades, he's going to be behind in just a couple of seconds. And will Blade be able to capitalize on that to kind of equalize the units lost tab, because he just lost a lot of Mutalisks in that rather bad engagement. Switching over to the units tab, 23 over 18. The Mutalisk number is definitely skyrocketed for Blade as he's kind of recovering from that earlier loss, but Clockwork has not slipped on his production of those Mutalisks. He needs to stay on top of that. Doesn't want to fall behind on the arms race. Speaking of arms race, +1 weapons is done for Blade, and he has not started on +2 Carapace, which is, in my opinion, a mistake. He's definitely got the money, does not have the gas, though. And I think it's because he's just been powering off those Mutalisks, trying to close that numerical gap that he had to Clockwork. Clockwork has definitely succeeded in taking his third. Probably going to be thinking about taking a fourth. His main is going to get mined out in a couple of minutes. No, he's still got plenty of money. Plenty of money indeed. Maybe not enough gas, though. Want to stay on top of those upgrades. Speaking of upgrades, +2 armor starting up. Blade is going to have to deal with a small flight of the Concords. 31 over 25 for those Mutalisk. Clockwork just trying to bait Blade away from his home support so that he can have an even engagement, and an even engagement with even upgrades. Clockwork is definitely going to come out on top, but remember, he doesn't have even upgrades. That +1 weapons is not quite done, which I think is what Clockwork is waiting for. Speaking of, fourth hatchery being constructed up here, and a fourth hatchery for Blade has already been scouted by Clockwork with his Overlord expertly positioned above that nice tucked away expansion. This third is really exposed, and I think Blade was trying to sneak something by Clockwork. Now here comes the 1-2 punch of the Zerglings and the Mutalisk. The Mutalisk so bunched up, but just an intimidating force nonetheless. The Zerglings are engaging, but the air support for Clockwork is going to prove too much. Where are the Mutalisks? Where are the Mutalisks on the other side of the map? Oh no, all the Zerglings. Actually, Blade comes out on top of that. What type of upgrades did he have? 0 for 0. I think Clockwork just didn't want to stick around. Because his fourth is under heavy siege from Blade. A counterattack of his Zerglings succeeding in getting the hatchery down to 400 health. However, it's still being constructed and will probably end up at about 800 health. Blade really wants to finish that job, moving off with his Mutalisk. On the move command, or maybe the direct attack command on the hatchery. Those Mutalisks turning around. Here comes the engagement. 41 over 24. This is terrible for Blade. Terrible indeed. +1 over +1. Clockwork is just ravaging the Mutalisk count. Why is Blade sticking around? He needs to pull back. Pull out, Blade. Pull out. They're on your 6. Blade pull it all the way back. +2 weapon. Oh no, Blade tapping out. Yeah, I understand. That was just terrible. That engagement was absolutely awful. Look at that resources lost tab. Blade. And you know why? Is because it is so incredibly hard to count the number of Mutalisks that you are up against whenever they're stacked up like this. This could be 12, this could be 35, this could be 32. And it's really hard to tell until they spread out. And as Clockwork started to do that engagement, his Mutalisk kind of rested into this nice semicircle, and Blade realized that he was outnumbered 2-1. And that is just a terrible feeling whenever you've done so much right. You got that third up, you had that extra gas income, you were up on upgrades, you were feeling great, and then you had one bad engagement where you engaged over the Spore Crawlers, and Clockwork just capitalized on it like a pro. I mean, he stayed on top of those Mutalisk production. He didn't let anything slip. He didn't stop on his upgrades. He got a little bit behind on the upgrades, but it was because he was focusing on the numerical superiority more than anything else. I don't feel like Blade lost this. I think Clockwork won this just by playing better. And both players were just absolutely fantastic. This was a great game. That was a great example of what Zerg versus Zerg is all about. Just panic. Absolute panic. Oh, man. So that's it. This is a replay from Team EchO. If you guys like replays like this, be sure to check by this YouTube channel again. I am Big and Scary. I will see you guys later. Bye.